Hello, here's a super concise video of my favorite attack wall and orb setups. This video took a very long time to make, so I greatly appreciate any support. Please enjoy. Our first site is going to be Ascent A site, and it's going to look somewhat like this. Your wall will cover the doorway, and your orb will cover the left side of heaven and the entirety of hell. You can also do lineups with this orb if you plant for hell. The plant spot is also completely visible to A main. If your teammate is in hell, they have to go through a one-way orb and a molly in order to clear it. For your molly lineup, use the right side of your left HUD and aim it under this white line. It will land like this. For your orb lineup, come into this corner and aim the top of your smoke icon on this tiny vertical line above this square. For this lineup, you're gonna have to do a jump throw. Your wall is quite simple, just cover the doorway. If the opposing killjoy has her ult, I would wall a bit differently and leave myself a tiny corner next to Jenny. In this situation, she retakes, this leaves me two options. I can do lineups, or I can molly the bomb and then hide. Nobody expects the second option. If you're worried about people swinging through your smoke, you can learn this molly. Same corner, use the right side of your left HUD and aim it at the right side of this Pokeball. Now onto Ascent B. Your orb and wall is going to look somewhat like this. I snatched this orb from Ryan, another great VIPER YouTuber. Not only is it great for taking sight by holding the stairs angle, but you can also use it during post-plant. If you want to take sight really easily, you can use your mollies like this. The only place they can swing through is CT, in which there's a one-way. For the market stairs molly, you want to come into this corner and with the left side of your left HUD, aim towards the top right of this L-shaped line. For your logs molly, use the same part of your left HUD and aim it at the top of this tan line. For your wall lineup, come to the right side of this pot over here and aim your wall towards the left side ledge of CT. For your orb, you want to use the right side of your right HUD and line it up on this third brick line to the left of the window. This is also an insta-jump. If you want a fast B setup, wall mark it. For your CT orb, look at the top right of this tan brick and use the right side of your right HUD and do an insta-jump. You have more angles to clear, so molly stairs and molly logs. For your stairs molly, aim your left side left HUD in between the X of this wire. Your logs molly is the same as before, use left side left HUD with the top of this tan line. For my mid setup, I wall arches and smoke cat. It looks like they can walk out of this orb, but if they walk out, their entire body is showing and they're fully blind. When you get to tree room, you'll have this nice wall protecting you from garden. This is the ideal A split setup. For your mid wall, come into this corner and look at this head level brick and at the bottom of this curve, aim your wall here. If you do a higher wall, it will result in a broken wall where you can see enemies through your minimap. If you do a lower wall, it won't reach garden. For your orb, use the right side of your right HUD and aim it at the top left of this square. This orb does take a few seconds to pop. On bind day, this is my favorite attack setup, but I also use this for lurking. You can check pocket or U-haul with this, and you can also flank U-haul, CT, or heaven. If you get to this point right here, you could also drop the wall and fight back sight. For the orb lineup, stand in the middle of these boxes and look at the top of this long leaf with the top of your smoke icon. Take out your orb and do an instant jump throw. For your wall lineup, come to this corner outside of showers and aim for this tiny wall outside of CT pipes. Once you clear showers and get to this point, you can put up your wall and orb. For your more generic A setup, you've probably seen this before, wall on top of the green box by truck. For the orb U-haul, I use the right side of my right HUD under this V halfway in between the leaf. After your team gets out of the choke, be sure to drop your orb or swoop peek with it so your team can take U-haul. You can then use your orb for post plant. The setup is only good if you have some sort of showers control or a sage wall. Over on B site, we have a one-way for CT and a wall for elbow. For your wall, come to the fountain over here into this corner and aim between these two yellow panels. You can help your team by putting this wall up immediately and taking orb and long control. Drop it when your team pushes up to this point. As your teammates are taking long and hookah, head on over to the TP box by hookah. For your orb lineup, stand in this corner in front of the TP box and with the left side of your left HUD, aim above this rectangular shadow. No jump click necessary, just throw. It is possible to throw the same orb from long. Come into this corner and with the top of your smoke icon, line it up with this first long brick in this first window. This is a running jump throw. These throws are quite hard to do without a macro, but you can get the timing down. For the timing, run until the beak of your right HUD hits this box. Then jump and left click very quickly. If you want a fast and safe execute, come to this side of the box over here and with the beak of your left HUD, aim it towards the top of this lamppost. Do an instant jump throw. For your wall, just look towards CT and aim it into the doorway. It's not beautiful, but the wall does its job and the orb is easy to grab and reuse for post plant. Onto Breeze A. This is a very basic but efficient setup. The wall will cover everything far left side and the orb will cover the op angle. Drop your orb when you get close. Your orb can be reused for post plant if it's planted in the safe corner. For your wall, stand anywhere over here and aim towards concrete and the back corner of pyramid. For your orb, step into this corner and then look at the O in the shop with the C under your molly icon. This is also an insta jump throw. If you don't know the molly lineup for the corner, come over here and then aim down to this yellow leaf over here. The setup on B is going to look somewhat like this. There's a lot of wall variations I've seen, but this one's my favorite. In return for giving up a little bit of control, all of your far angles are covered. When you take sight, drop orb and split up the left side with your teammates. Your orb can be reused for post plant. For your setup, align yourself with this black dot. This is on high graphics, but I'm sure you guys can figure something out if you're not running high graphics. For the wall, line up the blue line so it barely touches the right side of the pillar. For your orb, just look at the top of these leaves over here and do a jump throw. If you go mid to A, stand around here and try to cut the yellow box diagonally. This will let you cross mid and enter A. If you decide to go mid to B, you can smoke nest and wall the right side of half wall. You could also wall arches for more control, but you'd have to fully clear half wall. For your nest orb lineup, use the right side of your right HUD and aim it at the bottom of this white line. Do an instant jump throw. Fracture A. This setup is going to be for your team to split through sand in A main. Your wall will fully cover rope and your orb will cover drop. Your wall will also cover CT. Someone could try to swing out of your wall and kill you sand, and with the right position back here, sometimes drop is visible. For your wall lineup, come into this corner over by spawn and look at the bottom corner of this pipe right here. For your orb, step into this crack in between these two panels and look towards the top left of this billboard. Do a jump throw. Fracture B. If you go arcade to B site, your setup will look like this. This in my opinion is the best wall and fully covers spawn. Your orb also makes it very easy to push arcade or tower. For your wall lineup, you just want to come into this corner and look at the bottom of this green blob. For your orb, come to the right side of this rock in this corner and look at this bottom leaf in this rectangle. Then do a jump throw. Here's my setup if I come from the other side. I'll usually do this wall if we have a lot of people towards B main. This wall does give up a lot of Jenny control, but it does make taking sight easier. The wall has an added bonus of helping your teammates push up arcade. If you need extra help taking sight, you can look at this triangle and run with your molly. This will land behind dice. If you want to hit safe, you can look at this yellow triangle and also do a running molly. If you don't like the wall I just did, you can do this vertical wall. This wall is easy to split with and gives you a lot of control if you can take sight. You can also do this wall that's very similar to the first one. Just come into this corner and aim towards the entrance to tower from the arcade side. This will give you more space to work with when you push sight, and helps your team push arcade. Here's my setup for Haven A. I have an orb for Heaven and a wall for CT. This one's super simple, so I'm not going to explain it at all. I can wall CT from either window, A main, or short. This orb is another running jump throw. I come into this corner over here and look a bit to the left of the end of the satellite stick. I run up until the point of these two wires crossing each other, then go for an insta jump throw. If that one's too hard, you can jump on the sandbag over here and look at the top left of this support pillar. Do an instant jump throw. If you want to save your orb for post plant, this is another option. Come into this corner and look in the middle of this black square. Do an insta jump throw. This orb will cover Heaven from short and also the left side of long. Be wary, they could play in or behind your orb backside. This orb is risky and you should drop it right before you clear backside. Not many people know this, but you can actually smoke both links without being near B site. For your orb, go up one ledge and stand in this corner. Then look at these three dots over here and look at the bottom dot. Take out your orb and do an insta jump throw. You could wall ceiling from wherever or however you like. Another way I like to smoke B is to come onto this first ledge again and look at the corner of this building with the left side of your right HUD. Do an insta jump throw. For your wall, just look towards A link. Your setup will look like this, making B site quite easy to take. Here's Haven C, so we have a one-way to cover this long angle, and then we have this wall to cover both CT and garage. Once again, once your team gets onto site, you want to drop your orb before your team takes back site. Plant for long and use this one-way for post-plant. For your orb, line up against the middle of this fan, and then look at this tiny dot in the sky above this red square. For this, you also want to insta-jump throw. For your wall, just line it up vertically with CT. If my team were trying to default or deny info, I do a diagonal wall that looks like this. If I think they have a chamber or jet op, I might throw an orb up there. If someone is playing back plat or plat, you can flush them out with mollies. Unidara and I learned these together in a Discord call. Stand in this corner and line up the tip of the chevron with the left side right HUD. For the back sight one, look at this rightmost square and then look up to this black line. When the mollies land, you can safely spam. If you're trying to default A, I like covering the long entrance in CT. Here's my Icebox A setup. I have an orb for rafters and hell, and I have a wall for screens. This orb is super nice because it covers two of the most common and hardest to take angles. To line up the orb, stand on this black line until you're on this yellow line. Look at this corner over here and then run until you hit the other corner. Here it is in slow motion. That timing is actually pretty easy. For your wall, line up your wall vertically with the screens. If you don't like the screens wall, you can come over to this corner by the biphase barrier and then aim in the middle of this tiny N. This will give you a new setup that looks like this. With this wall, pushing the left side of maze onto site is a lot easier. If anyone's playing top screens, they'd have to swing out with their full body in order to see you. They could hide behind the wall, but that's a pretty easy spam kill. On Icebox B, I just have one wall. Line up the top of this point with the top of your smoke icon. The only thing this wall doesn't cover is the rope entrance to top tube. This is what the top tube player sees. Finally, onto our last map, Split. Our go-to A setup is quite simple. We have an orb for CT and elbow, and then we have a wall for heaven. It is possible for someone to sneak in from screens to elbow. I'd rather just close off the entire CT and elbow angle onto ramp to make site take easier. Something worth noting is if someone is screens and enters your orb to get into elbow or on site, they'll enter like this. It's very rare that someone entering your smoke will enter looking right. If you play this corner, you'll get free kills and knives. For your wall lineup, just stand anywhere back here and you want to aim it towards the slant on rafters. For your orb, you want to come into this bench corner over here and then aim towards this L in the top of this building. When the barrier goes down, do a jump throw. If you want to lurk or save your orb, I suggest you throw this wall from sewers in this corner over here. Aim your wall so that it covers this tiny diagonal ledge. Your wall will cover heaven and CT. Usually on Split B, I'll just wall like this. This wall's main purpose is not to control site, but rather help you get onto site more easily and deny information. For the wall lineup, come into this corner over here and then just aim your wall at this back box. Like Haven C site, with this wall you can flush out people playing back site with mollies. Another big shout out to Unidara since we made these two lineups together a long time ago. For the close lineup, use the left side right HUD where these two panels make a T. For the further lineup, use the same part of your HUD and put it on top of the second triangle. Bazinga! Here's another setup I might do if I wanted more control of site. This would be especially great if you had someone who could smoke CT. For the wall lineup, stand next to this generator and look at the top right of this O in cola. For your orb, there's a hidden little corner over here. Aim your crosshair in between the third tile. Once again, it'll look like this, and yes, someone will probably hide behind your wall. If you can get to these barrels in mid, you can do an easy split wall for B or A. For B site, you want to cover both stairs and CT. For A, you want your wall to cover this small line. This wall will cover heaven and CT. Hey, that's everything I have for you guys. In around 2 weeks, I'll be releasing a mega guide with all of my post-plant lineups. Also more fun montages to come. Until next time, bye bye.